if you ban guns, okay, you ban all the guns, boom. What criminal is going to say, okay, they banned the guns, so none for me? Like, the very essence of a criminal is someone who doesn't obey laws. Mm-hmm. So the more laws you make, the more laws they break. Yeah.
Let me ask you, have you faced any major challenges in trying to break into the firearms industry, and maybe even during COVID and snowstorms and the snowpocalypse? And have you faced any challenges
Right.
in just trying to break into it, teach, or even early on with the club?
We'll talk about the training aspect first. Mm-hmm. One of the challenges is people knowing that they need training. To me, that's a big challenge in being a firearms instructor is people knowing that they need the training. Mm-hmm. People will get their LTC, they'll take their little LTC qualification, and they'll feel like that's the only training they need.
I mean,
and their
LTC is
gun
not
will
that
sit
hard.
on the dresser.
Yeah.
Right. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to discount what anyone has done, but you should be able to pass the LTC. It's a human-sized silhouette. Most people will pass it within the first 2 strings of fire. And that's great. Getting your LTC is great, but you need to continue training, right? Mm-hmm. And, we've talked about this before. It's just, how do you know how you're going to react in a situation if you don't train for that situation? Right? Let's say you buy a gun, or you buy a holster, and you don't know how to draw from your holster. Mm-hmm. You go to draw your gun, and your whole holster comes with the gun.
Right. What do you do?
Right. You can't tell a bad guy, hold on a second. You can't pause light. I don't think some folks see the need for training. Mm-hmm. Some people think, value. Okay, I got the value. Mm-hmm. I got my LTC, I'm good to go. I talk about my military experience. I took combatives level 1 and 2, so I'm certified in combatives level 1 and 2, which is like, it's hand-to-hand combat mixed with little Brazilian jiu-jitsu, like Royce Gracie style.
That stuff is good.
But I'm not getting in the ring we'll talk about MMA. I'm not getting in the octagon with freaking, I love Conor McGregor, but
any of those guys, really.
I may get in the octagon with him now because he's a little older. I might not.
Oh, wow. Will said he's rolling with, he's going to roll a little bit with Conor. Come on, Will.
Notorious, man. But it's like, okay, let's say I took one boxing class and I get in the ring with freaking Roy Jones or Floyd Mayweather or something. Like, it's the same equivalent. I always like to equate things to other things. Mm-hmm. Let's say I watch a YouTube video of someone teaching how to shoot a basketball. I can't step on the court with freaking LeBron and think I'm going to take him one-on-one.
That's right.
It's really the same thing. It's literally the same thing. Yeah, you did an LTC course. Okay, that's cool. What's next? Are you going to keep training? Because we always say, we're our own first responders.
That's right.
We are our own first responders. Nobody is coming to save us. And I'll touch on something that's a little sad. You and I both saw the video of what happened in Philadelphia was it last month or?
It wasn't that long ago.
Like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
They got into an argument about snow, and the guy went in, got his gun, came back, shot him, went back in, got his other gun, came back and shot him. And how, taking that video, I looked at it and I'm like, man, what can I learn from this? What can others learn from this? Mm-hmm. it's sometimes it's better to walk away. A lot of times it's better to walk away. But if it should come to you, are you prepared? You know?
Yeah.
And to me, that's the thing that it all boils down to is preparation, being prepared. You never know the situation you're going to find yourself in. And to me, I said all of that to say that's the biggest challenge I've seen in being an instructor is people knowing they need training. And to me, that's twofold. That's being an instructor and running the gun club, you know? Because you're a part of the gun club.
I am.
For those that don't know, he is
part
of the gun club.
They know. We talked about this in the episode 1.
And he's actually in the leadership. We don't have a title for him yet. Y'all can come up with a title for him. Y'all got to come up with a title for him. Mm-hmm. You've been to several of the range days, and we've actually shot together, just you and I. So you've seen and this is pretty much what we do. Is it's not watered down, but if people think that training is intense, they aren't ready.
Listen.
Don't get me wrong. We train.
Yeah, no, we do what we do. But there are levels to this thing, and I understand if you're not ready to take O's, combat, urban combat 2 or Gladiator 6 class. Right. Both of those are reputable black firearms trainers. One does more advanced stuff, and O does have classes for beginners and going up the ladder.
He does. Yeah.
That being said, you're not going to survive those classes if you can't learn your fundamentals. And most people that I know that are thinking about guns have no idea what the fundamentals are. They're flagging themselves. They're pointing the barrel of the gun at their body parts. I've seen people get killed doing that. You and I both. And they're holding the gun with improper form, putting their hands in places where they can be seriously injured.
Behind the slide,
which I don't want to call anybody out, but that is, that's a dangerous thing, and you have to mention it when you see it. If you don't mention it, you're doing somebody a disservice. It's almost like you hate them. Yeah. Do you hate them? Let them know it's dangerous.
Right. And if they get mad at you, so be it. It's just something you have to deal with.
Gun safety is paramount. We cannot take shortcuts or have excuses. Right. And I'm going to do my best to never show any sort of improper handling of a gun. Not perfect technique, but for me, that those things are so important, because when people look at you and they think, oh, you know something about guns. I'm not some expert, but if you know something about guns, people will be like, oh, can you take me to a gun store? Can I come shoot with you? And if they see you doing something stupid or dangerous, they'll go home and kill themselves because they did something stupid and dangerous, and you got lucky and they didn't.
Yeah. That's why we always preach the firearm safety rules.
You preach it to me every time we talk.
Right.
Let's go through.
For those that are listening, if you find an instructor, or this person says they're a firearms trainer or firearms instructor, and they don't mention the firearm safety rules, find a new instructor. I can't stress this enough, because if they're not covering there's 4 firearm safety rules. You put me on the spot. Treat every firearm as if it's loaded. Never point your firearm at anything you don't intend to shoot. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot, and know your target and what's beyond it. And there was a video that I posted on my Instagram page with these 2 guys in the gun store, and one guy was jacking around with the gun, and he shot his friend.
Right there in the gut.
Right in the gut.
That was horrifying to see. I saw that video. Horrifying.
Yeah. And when you think about the firearm safety rules, they're listed in a specific order for a reason, right? So the first one is treat every firearm as if it's loaded. Okay, boom. You don't want to assume a firearm is empty, right? So, okay, if you treat it as if it's loaded until you verify that it isn't. Then don't point your firearm at anything you don't want to shoot, right? So let's say you forget to check it's loaded, but you don't point it at something. Okay, boom. Then keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire, right? So let's say you disregard the first two, or you disregard the first one and the firearm is empty, but the firearm is loaded and you think it's empty, but you keep it pointed in a safe direction and you're jacking around and you squeeze the trigger, right? Now, yes, you've had a negligent discharge. Yes, you've effed up, but at least you followed one. But you need to follow all of them. I'm not saying, oh, hey, Will said if I follow one, I'm good. No, follow all of them.
All of them.
But
oh my gosh.
But yeah, it can be catastrophic.
There's no reason
I saw
to die.
another video.
No reason to die from your own gun.
Right. I saw another video with a black lady who died tragically. She was with, I guess he was an instructor, and he was messing around with the gun, had it pointed at her and shot it.
Yeah.
And
I saw
he
that
shot
one.
her and she died from that.
Yeah.
And it's like, just because someone says they're a firearms instructor doesn't mean they are. Just because you see them shooting doesn't mean they're qualified.
Yeah.
And like I said, I just became an instructor back in November. And I'm not like a super high-speed expert, but at the same time, my philosophy is safety. I'm always going to stress those firearm safety rules. Like I said, that's the lifeblood of anything, of any firearms training, is the safety rules. As long as I'm sticking to that, then I don't care if I have 1 student or 100 students. Nothing changes. So yeah, that's that.
One thing I did want to talk about, and I know we didn't talk about it pre-show, is a little bit of politics. Because people are going to say, oh, you like guns. It sounds like you're not quite a conservative.
Right.
Where, if you're comfortable, where do you kind of feel like you fall on the political spectrum?
So for me, I don't fall to any one side. I'm neither Republican or Democrat. I want to say I'm independent, so I can go either way, right? Yeah. I can go either way.
You can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't believe in a two-party system. I feel that system is outdated. Growing up, like a lot of Black folks, we tend to vote Democrat just because, right?
Why is that?
I have no clue. I have yet to figure that out.
And I'm not saying, you're not allowed to vote Democrat or one way or another.
I think what I think it is? I think, people always talk about the party flip in the 1950s and 60s. Yeah. So it's like the Democrats now are the party of the people or whatever, and the Republican. We won't get into all of that.
Sure. Yeah.
But as I've gotten older, I'm like, okay, do their views align with my views? That, to me, that's the most important. I don't believe that we should be so one-sided. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There is nuance to life.
Yeah. Like if a Democrat came out and said they support the Second Amendment, best believe I'm voting for them. Most people don't know this, but there's a such thing as conservative Democrat and liberal Republicans.
Right. Right.
So
it is a spectrum. It's not you're here or you're there. The spectrum. There's this long list. You could fall anywhere in between there. And it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to be honest. And I think in people's honesty, they're able to maybe pick up a more positive viewpoint if they had something that was maybe more negative or more hurtful. I did want to go back to one thing before we hit maybe our last 2 points and get out of here.
Okay.
I know we talked about the Philly shooting and how absolutely tragic that was. And we did discuss this in a previous video, but I wanted to get multiple perspectives because, on this show, we cook up perspective. We serve it to the people, see if they like it. If they don't like it, they still got some perspective.
Right.
That being said, What do you think about that? I mean, I know we said how terrible it was, and we regret that it happened. But some people would say, you see, this is why we can't have guns. If nobody has guns, no one can do this. We just leave the police with guns, and they can kind of clean up the mess. But if by and large nobody has guns, and even the bad guys have a hard time getting guns, then aren't we safer as a society? I mean,
I don't agree with that philosophy. And I'm not going to turn into one of those guys. It's my right. No, that's not what I'm saying.
It is my right.
It is.
It's my God-given right to be able to defend myself. First of all, to self-defense. I'm not saying that you have to have a gun to win every battle.
No,
to resist evil, but
exactly. So the reason I don't agree with that philosophy is because if you ban guns, okay, you ban all the guns, boom. What criminal is going to say, okay, they banned the guns, so none for me? Like, the very essence of a criminal is someone who doesn't obey laws. Mm-hmm. So the more laws you make, the more laws they break. Yeah. It's like, I wanted to avoid talking about this, but HR 127, I can't avoid it. Hey. I can't avoid it.
Hey, let's talk about it.
For those that don't know, HR 127, or Sabika Sheik is it's the actual name of HR 127.
Gotcha.
And it's introduced by Sheila Jackson Lee of the 18th Congressional District out of Houston, right? Mm-hmm. So with talking about that, one of the things she's proposing is this $800 fee that you have to pay the attorney general for insurance and this, that, and the third. First off, if I pay $500-$600 for my gun, why do I have to pay $800? That's already $1,000 right there, right? We'll just call it $1,000. Then, without going too much in depth into this bill, if, let's say, you don't properly secure your firearm, or you lend your firearm to someone and they kill themselves with your firearm, right? The text in the bill states that you can be in prison for 45 years, some crazy number like that. And you can be fined like no less than $150,000. Now, I don't know about you, but I ain't got $150,000, but
yeah. Oh my gosh.
I'm not trying to say, I'm going off topic, but yeah. I don't agree with the whole, if we just ban guns, everything will be okay, because we have seen that people are inherently evil. Mm-hmm. I think every one of us, everyone living, has a propensity for violence. Mm-hmm. We just don't know it yet. Like, we haven't been put in a situation where we've been forced to do such a thing, right? Mm-hmm. I believe anyone can commit an act of violence if they want to. Mm-hmm. Like, we see places where they have banned guns, and I don't want to get into the typical, look at the knife crime over there. But it's true. It's true. You look at what happened, I think it was in England last year, where a guy went into a police station and killed 5 police officers with a knife. So he walked into a police station and killed 5 police officers with a knife.
Was he John Wick?
Right. And it's like, he was determined. Yeah. So a person determined and intent on doing harm and evil will do such a thing. Right? The Boston Marathon bombing.
Right. We talked about that.
Cooker.
Pressure
Right.
cookers.
He used the friggin' pressure cooker, and he did an insane amount of damage, right?
Yeah.
So
they don't regulate pressure cookers.
Right. My thing with this is, like I said earlier, I am my family's first responder. Mm-hmm. No one is coming to save us, right? Mm-hmm. The average response time for the police, if you live in a good area, is about 4 to 5 minutes. If you live in a not so good area, that could be 12 to 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. Again, nothing against the police, but they aren't there they're there to investigate after the fact. And I'm not saying that's all they're there for, right? Yeah. But if you think about it, that's really what happens. If their response time is 4 minutes, if someone kicks in your door and the police response time is 4 minutes, imagine what a person intent on harm can do in 4 to 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I can't depend on someone else to protect my family.
Yeah.
That is my responsibility as a husband. That's my responsibility, right? Yeah. To protect my family. So I can't depend on someone else. And I don't feel people understand that concept. Mm-hmm. And yes, we when we see things happen, when we see people shoot up a church, when we see people shoot up a school, shoot up a movie theater, it breaks our hearts. It really does. I'll be the first 2A person. I'm not the first, but for all those listening, I'll be the first 2A person to say it breaks my heart. And those people are cowards and they're evil. And I don't want to wish death on anyone, but
I mean, they don't have a place in our society.
They don't deserve to be in our society, right? Yes, and it breaks my heart. But at the same time, when things like that happen, right, I want to be able to protect my family from that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be put in a position where I have to depend and say, man, I hope someone's coming to save me. I don't want to be put in that position. I want to be able to defend my family. If I want to park a tank on my lawn to defend my family, I should be able to. No one can tell me about the defense of my family. I always look at it as people who say those things, what if they were put in a position where they were afraid for their life?
You know, we did talk about this on a previous show, but a lot of people, and this is not true, but a lot of people assume that Democrats and people, you know, left of center are anti-gun by and large, through and through.
Right.
If you're Democrat, if you voted for Biden, you shouldn't have your gun rights. You shouldn't be able to buy bullets. And I'm using some country voice because that's kind of the caricature that y'all kind of that you see, where you know the guy who likes guns is super country. It's a caricature. Don't cancel me, please.
Right.
But
please don't. Please don't.
It was too soon. We just got started. So here's the thing. Last year, anti-gunner or not, they say about 40% of the individuals who bought guns were black. 60% were women. We've talked about this on a previous show. And it's crazy because it's like, okay, predominantly black folks generally vote Democrat. Mm-hmm. But these people buying guns, they understand, like, when it comes time to defend yourself, your last line of defense, because I'm not pulling out a gun unless it's time to use it. Like it's not for show. It's not to scare you. It's because I have to use it. And I don't look forward to a day like that. And I hope it never happens. I hope I can just shoot at the range, maybe go hunting, maybe.
Exactly. I just want to be able to shoot at the range. That's all I want to do. I just want to be able to put rounds downrange and have fun doing it.
Yeah. Get good. Get talented.
We can talk about that too. For people who may not know, some people may think we're just those people that just itching. We're just itching for it. We're
heck no.
I wish somebody would. That's what they think. Mm-hmm. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I never want to have to use my firearm in a defensive situation. Ever. Yeah. Ever. I'm not walking around itching for it. I'm not walking around like, oh, I hope somebody dropped me today. No.
A crazy person would say something like that.
Right. I stay away from those people. Even in the military, those people who are like, man, I hope we see some action. What? Like,
you don't want to go
away
home?
from those people.
Come on, bro. Like,
don't get me wrong.
You're not guaranteed to live.
Right.
I mean, if it comes, I'm prepared.
Yeah, I'm not hoping it comes.
You know,
Like,
here's
nah.
the thing. I went years without getting into any car accident. I've been paying
Right,
for
right,
insurance
right.
for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Because the government told me to, but
Right,
it's a good idea.
right.
I'll tell you what, I don't have to have home renter's insurance where I'm renting right now. But guess what? I
Okay,
have
okay.
it because I have a lot of nice little things that I've collected throughout the years. And if this whole
Right,
place were to go up in flames, I want to be prepared for the worst. You
right,
know, I'm
right.
living for
Yep.
the best life, but I am prepared for the worst.
Yeah, yeah.
And just my little spiel.
Right, right.
But let's talk a little bit of mental health and guns. That's kind
Okay.
of a big issue these days. A lot of people are blaming a lot of these issues on mental health and, oh, this person was crazy, that's why he shot up the school. Do you feel like it that is a contributing factor to some of these issues? And do you feel like there should be mental health checks like in HR 127, which we by and large disagree with almost to the fullest, but
Yeah, yeah.
considering the issues that we have had in the past, the recent past, and the excuse that a lot of pro-gun folks would say is like, oh, it's a mental health issue. It's not the guns, it's their mental health. Do
Um,
you think that we should have these mental health checks on every member of your family?
so do I feel mental health is a factor? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I do feel mental health is a factor. I feel mental health isn't addressed enough. On a large scale, I feel it isn't addressed enough. I think that's the default whenever. I think that's the default whenever a person commits a crime with a gun, right? I really think that's the default. And some of them have had a history of mental illness. I don't know how we would address that. Because one thing I know, some people who have mental health issues can seem perfectly freaking normal. And what do you do if someone passes a mental health check and then they still go out and do something heinous, like shooting up something, right?
Yeah. Perhaps they can kind of intimidate their family and their friends into
Right.
saying like, hey, don't say anything. Or they don't show these people their issues until the day that they go off and they hurt people. You
Yeah.
know, their wife gets fed up with it. They leave. And guess what? You can't leave. No one can have you if I can't have you, because that's something that people
Right.
say. And then,
Yeah.
you know, their whole
Yeah.
block is destroyed.
And like I said, I really do. Because I think that the issue becomes that some folks just love to blame the gun, right? Without addressing the actual issues. I don't think people always say common sense gun control, common sense gun laws. I don't really think that they are common sense. I don't think they do enough to address the deeper issues. They just want to say, oh, it's the gun's fault, you know?
I mean, AR-15 is a scary looking gun. It's all
Right.
black.
Right.
Them black guns.
Like I said, I don't know how it would look with the mental health aspect, but I do think a focus needs to be a focus needs to be put on mental health because it's an issue. It really is.
It is.
With the thing in Philadelphia, I don't like to assume, but I think he may have had something wrong with him, or he may have just snapped. He may have just been fed up. They may have been pushing his buttons, and he just was like, "Hey, today's the day." I watched it twice.
Yeah.
The first time I watched it, I was just like completely in shock. I talked with Zoe, who you had on the show before. He said the same thing. You know, he watched it twice. He was in shock, and then the second time he watched it was like, man, did that actually just happen?
Yeah.
You know,
it played out the way it played out. And your brain starts to, as a self-defender, you know, run through the scenario like, how could we have avoided this to begin with? And then you kind of work your way forward. It's like, okay. And so you didn't get yourself out of a bad situation. And then you kind of start to be like, but you saw he had a gun. You didn't get off the X. You didn't move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to victim blame at all, because they didn't shoot themselves.
Right. Yeah. No. And again, it's a tragic situation. And I think that instead of just going to outright, oh, let's ban this, I think we do need to look at, okay, what were the contributing factors to what this person did or this person did? And I think it needs to be fair across the board.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean by that. It's
Absolutely.
like, oh, this one's mental health. This one's, you know. I think it needs to be.
People will pick and choose what's convenient for them.
Yeah, cherry picking.
Like, just bold face, just look at you and be like, yeah, that's not a crime.
Right. Right.
Oh, jeez. So,
yeah.
One thing that I thought about, and I'm no expert in mental health. I studied it a little bit, but I'm no PhD. I got to call somebody else for that. I feel like there's certain things we can do to really tackle mental health as a country. And we don't want to spend the money. We rather spend it on defense. Like, God bless the troops. But we spend a lot of money on missiles. A lot of money on missiles. We have missiles, man. How many missiles do we need? Fix their planes, and then we can talk. Because there's a lot of broken down gear that you guys had to use, and that's unacceptable. First of all, military grade, baby. That being said, something that I'm thinking about is this: what if in school, you know how we have school counselors? What if every child who attends any sort of school is assigned a counselor? And during one period, once a month, you could check in, have a little mental health check. Be like, hey, how's everything? How are you feeling? How's everything at home? And just based on what I guess people can hide things and mask things. But if you have that from young, have somebody, comfortable with a person, and maybe that person changes as they grow, but comfortable with the idea of like, hey, I can check in, I can let somebody know that I'm not doing okay, and they can communicate with your family, and you can make this a thing. You know?
Mental health is taboo, and it's not just taboo in any one community. It's taboo across the board in the United States. And with what you touched on, I hate to say it, but like you said, our money is put elsewhere. We can't even afford to pay teachers properly. So that seems like a good idea. I think it would be.
Can't we afford
it? We could.
Richest country on planet Earth. I think we can afford a few things.
I know I've said it repeatedly. An emphasis needs to be put on mental health. It really does. I feel like it shouldn't be as taboo as it is. Because, when you talk about mental health, it's like, oh, they're weak. People who tend to address mental health or who may even have mental health issues are seen as weak and they can't function, and they're like the outcast of society, so to speak.
It's a tough situation, and I think
it is.
Awareness is a big thing, and I'm not a big this awareness day, that awareness day. Let's raise awareness for this. Let's raise awareness for that. Because I feel like just for myself, I look at a lot of things, and generally I feel like I keep up to date. But a lot of folks, they don't know what they don't know, and I'll be the first to say there's a lot of things that I don't know. What if a parent doesn't know because he wasn't shown, like a father, he wasn't shown that it's good to hug your children. It's good to tell them positive things. If you're going to tell them something kind of tough, you should probably build them up as well. Because they never got that. Yeah. My father never hugged me. My father never told me I was special, And then they get mad at the world and say, oh, you snowflakes think you're special because your mommy's told you you're special. And I'm not trying to stereotype anybody, but those statements are coming from such a bad place, and people aren't showing the right way. So they never embraced what could happen. But I do want to kind of wrap on this subject so we can talk about one more thing and kind of get out of here. I know with the gun club, you have you and the leadership have decided to get involved with the community a little bit more. What are you doing? What do you want to do? What have you guys done so far? How are we going to kind of go forward? And maybe how can people help and be a part of it? I mean, if they want to.
One of the things we did was the Christmas toy drive back in December. We had people buy various gifts and toys, and we donated those to the Salvation Army. And then we had a couple volunteers at the Mint Foundation for their Christmas toy drive. So we did a toy drive, and then a couple of us volunteered at a toy drive. The next thing that's coming up is the food drive. I actually reached out to an organization yesterday in the Dallas area called Voice of Hope Ministries. And I asked them, because we're a gun club, right? So, I have to reach out, and I asked them, hey, we are a gun club. Would you be willing to accept food donations from us? And they said yes. So that's the next thing. The food drive is coming, and I've partnered with Voice of Hope to donate food to them. So it'll be on the Facebook page and it'll be on Instagram. So you can find the gun club on Instagram and Facebook at Henry Johnson Gun Club.
Henry Johnson Gun Club. Okay.
Yeah, on Facebook and Instagram. The Instagram is public.
And where can people find you?
For me, I'm on Instagram at Lattimore Defense. You can find me there. You can email me, lattimoredefense@gmail.com. I am working on my website. Bear with me, people.
Hey, websites are becoming less and less popular, but they're important.
Right. Yeah. It's like everything's on social media now.
Like, listen, don't be beholden to one group, because if they decide to cancel you, you're done.
Right. So yeah, if people hear this, or when people hear this and see this, just know we are giving back to the community with a food drive. Canned food will be accepted. Non-perishables will be accepted. What I want to do is set up a day where people can come, bring food to us, and then we take it over to Voice of Hope. I just want to emphasize that for folks who may not know. Henry Johnson Gun Club is about training and education in our community, but we also have a focus on community outreach. We're in the community, so we have to serve the community. Like that, there's no way around it. Again, I'm gonna go back to the Black Panthers. That's what they did.
I knew it was going there.
I draw inspiration from them. Like they protected their community, but they also served their community, right? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to be the next Black Panther organization, the next Huey P. Newton or Fred Hampton or Bobby Seale. I'm just being me, and I'm just serving where I am. I'm serving the community that has done a lot for me. And that's just what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, look out for the posts, the flyers about the food drive. And of course, I'll post on the flyer how you can donate and how you can help us give back.
Yeah. Well, Will, it's been good. I know we kind of went a little bit long. I appreciate this conversation. I feel like it was good. We talked about a lot of really great things.
I appreciate you for having me on, man.
Absolutely. I mean, we had to do it eventually.
Right.
Cook up a little perspective, This has been Costly Conversations. You've been hearing from Will. This is Atlas. Let's go.